Your message to artists, don't quit your day job.
Yes. So it's so important because it goes back to what we were saying about having your A goal and your B goal. And by you having a day job, for me anyways, it gave me the stability to create my own films, right? I was able to procure locations, feed casts, take care of them, do films, do projects because I had a day job. If I only worried about booking jobs to live, I would be struggling because I haven't booked a job in this field in like 5, 6 years. So then that means I would go 5 or 6 years without any income, looking to work as a PA on set or, having to do background work or having to do oddball jobs. Whereas when you get that skill, you're able to just build the foundation. And without the foundation, you can't do anything. But with the foundation of financial security, and it doesn't matter how much you make, 30,000, 50,000, 80,000, you know how much you're bringing in so you can kind of mold your life around it. Then you're able to create. You're able to know, okay, I'm off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to film Fridays and Saturday nights or Saturdays and Sundays, however you're going to do it. And I'm just going to do that slowly. Consistency for a creator is more important than anything. So if you're a writer, I have a goal that I live by. If I'm planning on writing a script because I like a story, I do a minimum of 3 pages a day. And that minimum means if I can get 3 pages a day, then in a month I have a script. If you do 1 page a day and you hold yourself to that 1 page, in 3 months you'll have a script. But if you're not disciplined enough to hold yourself to that 1 page or 3 pages, then you'll never have anything and that story will stay stuck in your head. So when you have discipline, you have your goal A, goal B, it becomes so important because you're able to get a lot further. Think about it. If you go to the gym and you're disciplined to work out every day, you're going to get stronger. So if you're a filmmaker and you're disciplined to shoot every weekend, discipline, okay, maybe it took you 6 months, but now in 6 months, compared to you thinking about doing something, it's done. That turtle versus the race, that turtle versus the rabbit that we all used to listen to and how the turtle used to win, you don't understand it as a kid or when you're younger because you're like, the rabbit is way faster. But consistency can move mountains. So be consistent.
Okay, let me just play the opposite approach for a minute though. Let's suppose you get this great job, IT, it's very in demand, especially now, post-pandemic. What if you get into a lifestyle? Now you have a nice car, now you have a nice place, now you have friends coming over for dinner and they're in the same profession or similar, and then there's this little gnawing at you and you're like, you know what? I don't want to be at this keyboard right now. I want to be creating something.
I had that. And that's what led me to making films. Once you get that creative bug, it kind of never leaves you. Because even though I kind of quit Hollywood, I didn't stop. That feeling never left me of wanting to create and wanting to see something. So lifestyle, working in a job, you can't make the excuses. If you want to do it, you have to find time, right? And I say that because I'm married. I still have time for my wife. I'm a father. I still have time for my son. We do his Kumon and his schoolwork, and I pick him up from the bus stop. I still work 40 hours a week at my job. When I get off at 5, I can either write a script from 5 to 6. I can edit a film from 5 to 6. That consistency as a turtle, every day of 1 hour, 2 hours of creative output leads to a mountain of work. In 3 years, from an independent standpoint, you have 3 films, you have a web series with 12 to 13 episodes, you have a reality show about a med spa, and then you have a reality pilot episode in 3 years. And you're only able to do that if you're consistently pounding at it. So even if you're in a career instead of mindlessly searching through social media and letting an hour pass by, you can go and align that effort towards what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So again, if you're trying to write a script or you're trying to write a book, do a page a day, because in 3 months, your script is done. If you're shooting a film, shoot 1 day a week. And then before you know it, if it's 16 days, okay, in 4 months, you're done shooting and now you're in post. And then you apply that same tactic. Go edit for an hour. Go edit on the weekend. It's all about balance and consistency, because you still need time for your friends. You still need time for your spouse or significant other. You still need time for your kids. You need time for yourself. I do all that while I still play video games, right? It's important to have that balance, but if you are a creative, and I think someone gave me this statistic, I think like 12% of the world are creatives. And then 98% of filmmakers never make a second film, right? Those two kind of statistics I think are accurate, but I could be wrong. If 12% of the world are creatives, then that, and the whole world consumes art, right? Every film is art, every commercial, every story is art. Then that means if you're one of those creatives and that kind of sticks with you, and that's like the invisible wings on your back that you just have to fly, then you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the world to let that art out. Because if you die one day with that art inside of you and you're old and you're only stuck with your thoughts, you don't want to live a life or leave a life with regrets. You want to leave a life, regardless of the success attached to it, with I did it, I tried my best, and I gave my best effort. The results are out of your hands, because even films with hundreds of millions of dollars in budget flop. The success is out of your hands. The creation and giving it its best effort is within your capabilities. So before you leave this earth, do everything that you can to get that feeling, that conscious art out of you. Because if you don't do it, in that web of consciousness, somebody else is going to pull it. So, for example, I wasn't planning on making Pizza Boy Rick, which is my latest film that's in post. I wasn't planning on making it at all. I was at a Cisco event as an engineer for 3 days in Vegas. And I was laying in bed by myself, just randomly watching TV. The thought came to me instantly. The whole story I could see play in my head. I went into my phone and my notes and I just wrote points. Rick goes here, okay, this is what happens. And then I came back, wrote the script in about a week. If I didn't pull that from the artistic consciousness that all creators, I think, pull ideas from, somebody else would have. So I think it's important to give it your best effort for yourself as a human being and for your soul, because we all die. And you don't want to be on your deathbed saying, man, I wish I would have done things differently.
Do you think that 9 to 5 gives you structure where you know you have this hour before you have to, I don't know, pick up your son or take him to Kumon or whatever, and you're like, I have to do this now or it's not going to happen?
It gives me stability, because we would all love to just make films full time and be like Spielberg or Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino. We would all love that. We would all want to be in that position. But until you're in that position, then you have to do what works. And what I've realized growing up and going through life is that life does not have to be a struggle. When you grow up poor, like I did and many other people in the world, you think that struggle is normal, that you have to struggle. But when you realize that, hey, if I just take these steps in life differently, maybe I don't have to struggle. Well, guess what? If you're back to being that 18-year-old kid that wants to fly out because you don't have a stable home and you want to go and you're just going to try it and struggle along the way unless you get that lottery lucky break, compared to that same 18-year-old that goes to the military, which I had this conversation with my brother. Hey, go to the Army, 4 years. You get the VA loan, so that means you automatically get approved for a house. You can rent out that house, rent out those rooms, stay in one of the rooms, and they pay for your mortgage. You can get 1% down on a $1 million loan for your business. So you can buy a business that generates money for you. And then you do those few things. Outside of them paying for your degree and going to school while you're learning and you're a young man, now you come out in 4 years at 22 with a degree that's paid for, no debt, the ability to get a small business loan and buy a home that's all provided for you because you sacrificed 4 years, or you gave 4 years. Now you took your life in your own hands and gave yourself a leg up, right? Because now you have these options. So now you can pursue whatever it is you want to pursue from a stable point of view, compared to, I'm just going to go out and I'm going to try and figure it out. I'm just going to try and figure it out. Like, for some people it works. But when I say life doesn't have to be a struggle, it doesn't if you just make the right choices. If you just, and someone can say, well, what's the right choices, right? Okay, so I'll step back and say, if you just make more calculated choices, I think you can get to your destination without as much pain.
You know, it's funny you say that if you had an open schedule, there's something, an open schedule can sometimes be detrimental too, because now you can put stuff off because you're your own taskmaster. Mm-hmm. So you really have to like reevaluate once you have that open schedule.
To-do list fixes all that.
Sure.
So if you have a to-do list and you kind of write what you want to accomplish, you'll be surprised at how fast you can get that to-do list done. If you stick to, because every story starts on a piece of paper or on your screen. You have to write the words down before you make a film, right? If you have a to-do list, and on that to-do list, I have to do laundry, I have to do work, I have to write this page for the script, I have to, take my son to the dentist. Okay, if you just mark it off and you look at that to-do list, you'll realize how quickly you're able to get things done, but that to-do list holds you accountable if you're looking at it. Now, with that open schedule, if you don't have a to-do list, you're fiddling around. You're wasting time. For me, one of my greatest assets, because I'm not the best director, there's other directors that are better. I'm not the best cinematographer, there's other cinematographers that are better. I'm not the best writer. I'm not the best anything. But what I am are two things. I'm a grinder. I will grind it nonstop and knock on the door nonstop. And I get laser focused. So that laser focus helps out a lot, because when I stick to, okay, my rule is 3 pages a day, I tend to write 12 to 15 a day, because writers know, like, once you start getting in the flow, the story kind of writes itself and kind of goes. And I don't worry about punctuation. I don't worry about spelling correctly. Sometimes I don't even worry about describing a scene. I'll say interior, house in Alaska, fireplace. Jim walks in through the front door, the fire's burning. There is no, the smell of the burning wood permeates through the building. You can see the smoke as it leaves the front door. Jim walks in, the door creaks. For what? When I shoot it, it's gonna either creak or it's not gonna creak. When I edit it and I do sound design, it's either I'm gonna add it or I'm not. So if you're gonna sell it, you need to colorize it. But if you're gonna film it, then don't get caught up on making those words sound perfect. Get caught up on how do you make the story that you see in your head out on that paper, and then how can you, the best to your abilities, get that shot.